it's imperative that you do preventive maintenance on all the dryers.
Are you looking for a business investment that's easy to start, flexible, and cash generating? Then opening a laundromat is for you. Welcome back to Laundry Money. This is your place to hear the ins and outs of every step of the design, construction, and operation of your laundry business. I'm Max Brandstetter, podcast producer at Hippo Direct and host of the Wild Business Growth Podcast. And I'm here with Howard Shear and Rex Anderson from Lakeside Laundry Equipment, your guides every step of the way. Howard and Rex, how are you guys doing?
Hi, Max. This is Howard.
Hey, Max. This is Rex.
This is episode 5, and today we're going to talk about laundromat business costs that go beyond washers and dryers. So in the previous episode, we talked a lot about the main costs, the primary costs you'll see, and costs involved with the building and construction and getting started. Here we're going to talk about overhead costs, service costs, whether your business should be attended versus unattended, and some other things to consider as well. So before we get to the cost side of things, let's talk about timing for a little bit. So Howard, from a timing standpoint, with your laundromat business, what is a reasonable time commitment to expect as far as getting things up and rolling and creating steady business?
So I left off the last episode saying 2 hours a week. Truthfully, that's what you're going to spend approximately at the laundry, working and counting and verifying. However, we build our stores, and we always suggest to build the stores with camera systems, which will allow you to do that 2 hours a week. In reality, you're probably going to spend 5 to 10 hours a week on managing the stores, maybe possible repairs, hiring companies to service for you things that you cannot do. So that's probably a really nice level. So, figure about 10 hours a week of managing your stores throughout a 7-day week, knowing that you're going to be working a little more on Saturdays and Sundays, because that's when your operation is the busiest.
That makes sense, because some of it is hands-on, you actually being there, but a lot of it these days, I'm sure you can do from home, as you were mentioning. So how would you characterize that? I mean, how much of the laundromat business can be automated and actually operated from a remote location?
It's outstanding now where the technology has come in to play. We can start a washer remotely from our phones using the ESD system on the new Maytag machines.
Oh, wow.
The ability to give someone instantaneous gratification. What is $3 for a load, giving away, then arguing with a customer and telling them, you know what, don't come to my store anymore. Well, you lost that customer plus every other customer they tell it to. So that's why instantaneous and managing your time at the stores and having the proper systems in place that makes it easier, less time spent, and your dollars working for you.
It's pretty crazy that you can do that from your phone. Obviously, the world is getting more and more mobile, but I've never thought about operating washers and dryers from your phone. So that's pretty incredible technology there,
Max. And also, just to piggyback off what Howard said, when it comes to the connectivity of it. So all of the machines now, especially the new Maytag machines, they all connect via the internet. You're able to start them remotely, as Howard mentioned. They also send you real-time fault codes as well. So you're able to see when a machine breaks down remotely. Even though remotely you can't fix the machine, you are at least able to. It sends you that trigger to send a service guy out to take a look at it and get the machine operational as quickly as possible. Because if that machine's not running, then it's not making you any money and it's not doing anybody any good there.
It seems like you're able to, really, as much as you want, be more and more connected, and so you have that ability to manage things without being there all the time and all the time. That makes me think of all the different things to consider, and there's plenty of different costs to consider as well. And so, we've talked about some of the biggest costs, and especially when you're starting up, but Let's talk about overhead costs for a little bit. So, Rex, could you start off by sharing some of the biggest overhead costs and what you should really expect there?
Well, the biggest one's going to be human capital. And what I mean by that is if you're going to have an attended store, or whether you're not going to have an attended store. If you're not going to have an attended store, we recommend you at least have somebody come out a couple times a day just to make sure the place is clean, do walkthroughs, make sure there are no machines down, anything that you wouldn't be able to see remotely. The second biggest one be utilities. Obviously with the the advances in the machine technology, they're more efficient than they use less gas, they use less water, less electricity than they ever have before. But at the end of the day, these are machines, and they do run on on utilities, and water being the biggest one.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned attended versus unattended, which seems like a key decision there. How do you know which one of these options is the right fit for you in your laundromat business?
The distributor can give you an idea of the size and the needs. However, if you have a large drop off clientele, you obviously are going to need an attendant to take the laundry in, wash it, and then be able to disperse it. The trouble is knowing when the laundries are going to be coming in, people are dropping off, and when you have this need to have the laundry turned around. What we have done using the ESD system on this, the POS system, was we're able to notify the customer via text, email, let them know that their laundry is done so they can pick it up while you're there and while it's attended if you're not going to have a full attended store. We have and only do a fully attended stores because we build the size of a store that we structure around that. A non-attended store is simply a store that's a needs someone to open up and close, or you can use an electronic monitoring system that opens and closes your door, but you still need somebody there to follow up to clean up every day, if not twice a day, and verify that there's any machines that are out of order. Those are the two types of stores, and there's a blended store you can have where you have a partial attendant, meaning you have someone that comes in the morning, opens up, cleans up, leaves, comes back later on during the day, cleans up, does a few odds and ends, and then locks up.
So that's more on the human capital side. So obviously some important decisions there. What other overhead costs come to mind and are things to consider?
Another one to consider is definitely going to be service as well. At the end of the day, these are machines that are driving your revenue, and when they're not working and when they're down, obviously you want to get them back up and running because they're not making you any money. That being said, as the machines get older and as they continue to depreciate, they will require more and more service. Machines do come with parts warranty, but once that warranty expires, then you're gonna have the parts expense.
We use Maytag and Fagor machines. Maytag right now has the longest warranty on parts known in the industry. They back it for 5 years. I said 5 years. That's unconditional parts. They don't question it, they replace it. A lot of manufacturers make it very difficult. When the part goes bad, you have to send it back, and they want to make sure it's bad. And it's a process. That's why we choose Maytag to be our store brand machine. The other thing is that you have to have a good distributor that has service schools so that you as an individual can repair your machines with the simple knowledge. They used to say, a little knowledge is dangerous. However, in the laundry industry, a little knowledge will save you thousands. How to unjam a coin drop, how to put a reader in, how to clean a dump valve in a washer that gets clogged because someone washed a rug. These are really simple repairs, but if you don't do them yourself, it eats up into your revenue, which is the ultimate goal, is to maximize our revenue.
Which makes me wonder how many other miscellaneous problems like that really in the grand scheme of things are small problems, but obviously in order to maintain that great customer service, you got to handle those as bestly and quickly as possible. Can you guys share an example or two of what would be the most common problem that comes up with the machines or from the service standpoint?
Absolutely. I can give you an instance. This probably happens more times than not. We have replaced more dryers for customers that do not do preventive maintenance because of dryer fires. We always suggest that everything gets cleaned out every day constantly in the dryer vents, in the dryer lint catches. It's imperative that you do preventive maintenance on all the dryers.
And then it becomes such a big safety consideration as well. So that's a key point you bring up there.
Well, that also comes, dryer vents are very important because if the dryer can't breathe, they become less efficient and then cause more breakdowns. So you're replacing parts faster. Those are really, preventive maintenance is probably the key factor in learning how to make your laundromat profitable. Those are things that we teach people at our service schools. The owners come and literally sit there and watch us tear down machines and explain to them, these are parts that are going to go break and this has to be replaced with what. That is what a good distributor will do for a laundry owner or potential laundry owner. Don't be afraid to ask the distributor that you're considering, do you have a service school and how often and how much are they? We do it for free and we sign up everybody as quickly as possible. And it's funny because when we started, we used to beg people to come. Now we have to close the classes off at 20. That's how fast it grows and how good the meetings are and people appreciate it. So preventive maintenance is the key to having good equipment long-term and have your investment pay off long-term for you.
So those examples make sense, especially when it comes to safety and things. Some of those things need to be utmost priority and I'm sure need to be a focus very frequently. But it seems like there's, especially when you talk about how many hours you can come in and work remotely, it seems like there's kind of an air of flexibility that is involved when you decide to invest in or own your own laundromat business. Can you talk about that flexibility for a little bit and the freedom or the options you have?
When it comes to the flexibility of it, you really have the flexibility to plan your own schedule with it. Whether you want to go in Friday mornings and Monday mornings, just to make sure things are running smoothly and everything's going according to plan, you can do that. Or if you wanted to stretch that out further, you could do that. We recommend going in at least 2 times a week, to empty out the coin, the coin boxes, recycle that, put that back in the changer, make sure all the machines are working properly, make sure that your staff is doing what you want them to do and keeping the place tidy, and just making sure that everything is still running, according to plan, according to schedule.
I'm feeling more flexible than ever. That's a good segue to what we're going to get to in episode 6. So in episode 5, we've talked about the overhead costs and what to expect from that regard, including the service costs and kind of the differences between attended and unattended stores. In episode 6, we're going to get more into what you can do to maximize the cash flow in your laundromat business. So when I say that, Howard and Rex, what comes to mind? What's a little teaser for episode 6 and what we're going to get into next?
We're going to talk about cash flow. The old theory was 5 fingers. We're going to teach you the 4-finger rule.
Well, that certainly puts things in perspective. Well, thank you. High 5 or high 4 to you, Howard and Rex. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And thank you, listeners, for listening to another episode of Laundry Money. You can bring your laundromat business to life by visiting lakeside.laundry.com/podcast and filling out the form. Until next time, keep it clean.
The numbers discussed in this podcast are based upon estimates and may vary from location to location. Past performances are no guarantee on future estimates, but are used as a guideline.